Threads,
Yeah.
right? Which is still the fastest growing social app that we've seen. Threads now has, I think if I got my numbers right, 400 million monthly active users, 150 million daily active users.
Wow.
By some measures, bigger than X now,
Yeah.
which is impressive from a platform that grew so quickly.
Yeah.
But I think its full power is still not fully understood by the industry. So Formula One is a really good case study on Threads. It's the number one community. We rank communities on Threads.
Interesting.
It's number one, not just in sport, but all communities. So if you go on there, we now have all of the teams, all of the drivers interacting with each other
Oh,
in
really?
a healthy,
Is that right?
yeah, in a healthy kind of banter way. So this weekend is going to be really exciting.
I mean, I'm a hardcore Formula One subreddit
Okay,
guy.
nice.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
only reason why I use Reddit is the Formula One
F1,
community group, because there's just so much to talk about, and it's perfect. It's not every day. It's 22 weekends, 24 weekends a year. So like, it's not all consuming in a way. But when it's on, you're really, those 3 days, I can't think of anything else. So maybe I need to check out Threads now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a really good, and I think
The
what I like
Formula
about-
One Threads, I mean.
For sure. There's a really good healthy interaction, which I think if you watch, you will, Drive to Survive.
Of course.
You see there's a good level of healthy competition and banter between the drivers, and that all plays out on Threads.
Okay.
So it's good. We're trying to do more in the football space. So we don't yet have a product-wise a football community, but this year we're looking to build that out around the World Cup. And the hard bit, I think, about building a community on Threads, which is a conversation platform, it's mainly text. We don't want people to put loads of video, which is different to the other apps, is you can't just have one partner talking in a vacuum. You need the whole community. But to get the whole community, you need to convince everyone there's chatter happening.
Yeah.
So that's the big push this year, is how do we get the athletes and the clubs and the leagues and FIFA to be creating a really nice community. And maybe with F1, that was easier because you've got, the 20 or so drivers, you've got the 10 or so teams. And so your partners required to create a community is a bit smaller. Football's much bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And then are you providing training, or are you actually providing experts? And like sort of almost like a forward deployed engineer, but like a forward deployed Thread strategist or something.
Yeah, it's more the former. I like the idea of the kind of deployed secondment, but it's more a lot of education, right, on like what matters. A lot of consultancy again on here's the stuff that works. So for example, people assume that by putting a load of video that will work, but it's really the text and the replies that help you grow quicker on there, and differentiates it, I think, from other platforms that are similar. So yeah, it's more of a education consultancy. When a new product comes out, we make sure the partners hear about it first.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. There's a spoiler feature. So you can do a post and you can have some of the wording kind of grayed out. And then only when you click it, it reveals the spoiler. So it's a nice experience for talking about TV or talking about sport where people might not have seen the result.
Yeah.
You can still have the post coming up in your feed, but only when you are ready, you can see them.
Oh, interesting.
So stuff like that is working
that's a
nicely
good idea,
for
yeah.
sport. Yeah, linking out to podcasts. We've got great features on there. So yeah, quite a lot of our time actually is spent educating on Threads, where we feel my team can do more in the market to show people how powerful it can be.
Yeah.
WhatsApp, I think, is one of the reasons I joined Meta, was the power of this app.
Yeah.
You talked about it for your Formula One group, and almost everyone I speak to has a group about something they're passionate about.
Classroom, parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a whole different beast. But it's a really special app. Again, in terms of reach, I think 3 billion on the monthly users, and then 1 billion on the updates tab, which a lot of people don't know about or spend time in. But you kind of have your conversations with family and friends, and on the very left-hand side, you have updates. And that's the place where sports organizations live. So you open that, and then you'll have your, we were talking earlier about the England FA. They have their channel.
Yeah.
And in that space, they share content. And then in one click, you can share it to your group. So this is something we've worked a lot on with rights holders, is how are you making a really useful channel?
Yeah.
So the football teams, for example, will share their lineups just before the match goes live. And then you can share it into your private group.
Yeah.
So WhatsApp's really powerful, and I think lots more to come in there, because it's quite a simple app at the moment, right? You go there for your conversation, you add your photos and videos, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's Meta AI, so you can ask it questions, but I think you'll see a lot more development there over the coming years. But the main two things we spend time with sports partners on is, one is that updates tab, like how are they making useful content in there?
Yeah.
And then two is, of all of the apps that we have, that's the traffic driver. So interesting for our conversation on apps, that's the one where you can most easily convince people to click,
Link
leave.
out and come back.
Yeah, more so than the other platforms, which sometimes it can be tricky to create that experience.
It's just the most organic. I mean, you don't go to WhatsApp. It's not like watching TV. You know, when you're watching TV, you're just like scrolling mindlessly and something shows up.
Yeah.
I think of Instagram as that, right? Like I'm just scrolling. It's a habit more. But WhatsApp is intentional. Like I am going to have a chat. I'm not just scrolling through my conversations to see what's going on. So when there's a lot more intent, you can be a lot more thoughtful about how to use that intent.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I wouldn't say slept on, which is kind of a bit of a cliche, but I think there's way more can be done around WhatsApp, and the smart rights holders are really leaning in on that and trying to figure it out, knowing that that's probably where your most passionate fans communicate their most
already.
And almost a portal, right? You can use it then to share threads and share Instagram posts and share YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So it becomes your entry to the sport conversation.
Yeah.
So I encourage rights holders to think about how they're inserting themselves in the group in an organic way.
Interesting.
So that's a huge business. And then what's emerging?
Yeah,
the
coming to the glasses.
Yeah. And not to tease it too much because people have seen it and it's developing. But I think it really changes what Meta's about.
Yeah.
And I joined at a time when the company was just launching the Oakley glasses, which are more of our sports glasses, obviously. So you can wear them when you're skiing or running or cycling. And the Vanguard wraparound ones are the ones that are more sort of sports proof, waterproof, weatherproof.
Yeah.
They've got more stabilization, so you can record stuff on the go. They've got what we call athletic intelligence, so you can link it to your fitness tracker, and then it will come up in the. It's not actually through the ear; it's over the ear with the bone conduction, the updates of heart rate, or it takes a video automatically when you reach a certain pace. So look, I think this is an exciting space. It's still very nascent, and so. Almost, I would say the stage we're at with rights holders is saying, hey, we've got this new technology, which we think is exciting, but kind of over to you to show what you can do with it. So we're at the stage now where we've worked with a lot of our partners to make sure they've got a pair and they're using them, especially athletes. And now we're observing some of the content that's coming back that we didn't necessarily expect. And I liken it a bit to when mobile phones came out and then there was an explosion in social content. I think we're at another frontier where we're going to see what kind of content comes back from, athletes wearing these glasses and capturing new points of view on the content. So yeah, that's.
Are they using it specific moments, or are they always on?
So I think so far it's been more training is just a big part of it. I think athletes really enjoy using them while they're training or practicing. And then also for things like recovery.
Yeah.
So that's where we're seeing them show up. We don't have as many of them yet in the game.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see if we can get to that point. Certain sports lend themselves better than others to the glasses.
Yeah.
I don't imagine we'll have 11 Arsenal players wearing them while they're playing. I mean, that's not going to work.
I also expect that to be something that might be regulated. I mean, we saw, I think in the Australian Open, Sinner and Alcaraz had to remove their Whoop smart bands.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't really understand why that would be the case, but I would expect, especially when you can capture and record moments, I would imagine leagues and federations might want to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Are you already starting to see that conversation happen?
For sure. Yeah. So I think generally like headphones, for example, aren't allowed in things like triathlon. And so there gets a level of competition where you can't use them as much at the moment. But part of the gig for us is to work with these organizations and be like, but what would we need to do to make it possible for them to be a part of that? But you're right, it's so new that we need to go step by step. And so for now, it's not so much about in the game. It's more about the training, the preparation, the dressing room. Those kind of moments is where athletes are having a lot of fun with them. And then sort of budding athletes are enjoying them. So, for people that just like to go running or do run clubs, like that's where they're really useful. Weekend warrior types, that's where the market is.
Yeah.
And that's on the Oakley side. And then you've got the Ray-Ban side, which is more of a fashion product or something we can be using every day, which is more for, everyday content capture. My colleagues that work in food verticals, for example, are seeing a lot of chefs make food content because they finally got their hands free. So you can be chopping, you can be cooking, whereas before you had to have an awkward camera setup and so on. So I think it's exciting because we're about to see this explosion of content, and we'll see what people can do with them.
Yeah.
But in sports, really, for now, the mission is how do we get them onto athletes for training to show what's possible?
Yeah, because I can see it being used for performance, right? Like, this is how you can do better. Try this approach. In competition, I think it might give you an unfair advantage. Tennis doesn't even allow analog coaching. So if you had glasses telling you this is the weakness, or this guy's hobbling on this side of the court, push more there, I don't think that might be allowed just yet.
Yeah. Training's a great example and performance enhancement for those moments. So golf will be a good one. So can you capture your golf swing, and it actually, rather than needing a coach external to you, it can see the way you're taking your swing and say, hey, your elbow's a little bit higher, could you do this? So you can see very real applications.
Yeah.
Look, at this stage, it's fairly basic. They're used for content capture and things like heart rate and music. They're the main selling points. But you're going to see with each turn, exactly, more of that. And then there's the fan side as well. So, one of the things I think people still think holds us back at sports events is you go to a football. You go to a football game and then you spend a third of your time behind this glass rectangle while your favorite thing in the world is happening behind it. And so the glasses hopefully can take the friction out of that experience. Again, for the base case, just capturing a photo of a goal or a corner or a moment that you want to remember without getting in the way. And then in the advanced case, and this is more speculative, but could you see a world where through the Meta Ray-Ban display, which is where you have the display in the corner, that you could add on stats? Could you be watching a game and then feeding through more of the interactivity we talked about on apps through the glasses as well? So I think the real magic will be when you can enhance the fan experience in the stadium so that stuff's getting out of the way, you can enjoy the game, and then you're enhancing it with more stuff, or even, directing you around the stadium. Yeah. Like we've all had that experience when you get there, where's my seat, which gate? Yeah. If your glasses could say, right, this way. So you can get back to what you enjoy. I think that's the magic. So
it's funny because I don't know if you know, but our Live Likes background was in VR. So we were one of the first companies to live stream content in virtual reality, work with every major broadcaster, rights holder. And this is when Facebook had just acquired Oculus, so quite early on, over a decade ago. But we were trying to bring that interactive, gamified experience, but obviously at home. So you had your glasses, you feel like you're watching the game in the stadium, and you had the Iron Man Jarvis experience, pull up stats, show me the formation, talk to friends, virtual experiences in a suite. You can move to different seats in the stadium and feel like that. It's almost like this is like mapping that virtual world onto the real world, whereas there it was, the real world was mapped into the virtual world in a way. But the idea was the same, right? Like, how do you augment your viewing experience with stats, with friends, with information that enhances the journey a little bit? So I do see the form factor here is far better in that sense. I'm a little scarred from my time in immersive experiences, just because how long, it took so long, and the promise was there, but the form factor didn't change. But this seems different.
Hopefully. And I think if you listen to Mark's earnings calls and what he talks about, I mean, this is somebody and a company that was a huge believer in VR, and the name of our company reflects that. And I think there is some regret that it's grown so well, and it's still really relevant, and there's still all the stats of the number of teenagers in the US that have a VR headset. I want to say it's 1 in 3. It's high numbers, right, that are using this technology. However, the idea that it would become commonplace and fully integrated, and that we'd be doing this podcast through it's not materialized in the same way. And so I think what is smart is that you can take the learnings from that and put it into the wearables, the glasses. And an acknowledgement from the company that that's more the future that people want, rather than just the VR. But it's still big. It's still an important part of what we do. And so we're still connecting rights holders with our Reality Labs team, where there's opportunities to make good VR experiences. We had a bunch with NBA this year. So it's not like it's down to zero, but I think there's a recognition of, if we have only so much energy, that we divert a bit of that towards the glasses. So
As a personal anecdote, when COVID hit and we were at at a crossroads as a company on where we want to go and what we want to focus on, we were making the decision to sell our VR business. And I remember calling someone from Oculus. I won't name him, but I was like, I'm gonna do this. I don't want to regret it 6 months from now if you guys lean in, because we almost all were looking for Facebook at the time, Meta now, to lean in. Like, hey, as the OEM, as the supplier, you have the most to benefit. Not only you have the most to benefit. So if you lean in, you seed this ecosystem, whether it's the developers, whether it's the content creators, whether it's the production guys. That's the only way this is going to happen, because the economics don't work otherwise. Especially when the install base wasn't as high. And only Meta could benefit from the install base being high, or benefit the most again. And I was like, if you guys lean in 6 months after I sell this business, it's gonna suck. And he's like, no, it's not gonna happen as fast as you think it's gonna be. So do it.
Yeah.
So
Great.
like, okay,
sounds like you made a good decision.
I appreciate. This is 2020, so yeah. 6 years ago.
The funny thing is the parallel there obviously is with, and I remember being at Google when the first Google Glass came out, which was ahead of its time. And you talk about a form factor being right for the moment. I can't remember what year.
Google Glasses. I remember that.
You remember? Yeah,
of course.
Did you try a pair?
Not just the Google Glasses that came out. I never tried a pair. They look eerie.
Right, that was the problem.
I just never felt good with it. But also like the Google VR cardboard thing. Like, my God, it's only been 10 years, but some of the things that were happening back then felt so natural at the time. Yeah.
And I think that, and maybe that's where we are with VR, is like there's a moment that the Google Glass was, I think you're right. I think the look of them didn't help.
Yeah.
And Meta have been very smart in partnering with
Ray-Ban,
as all Luxottica to make sure that it's fashionable. But maybe it's similar in that there was a moment where it didn't quite fit and people weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And now we're at a stage where the glass selling, it was 7 million units last year, growing 3 times year on year.
Yeah.
And so now's the moment. Maybe with VR it'll be similar. There'll be a moment where it resurges, but for now it's, I think, to echo your point, it's not quite where the market is at scale.
Yeah. And that's the point.
Scale is the key.
Scale.
Yeah.
The only way the economics work is if there's a big install base, which then justifies the cost of production for this at every venue, all day long.
Yeah. And one of the pitches on the glasses is that I think there's 2 billion people around the world that wear some kind of glasses every day.
Yeah.
And so in 5-7 years, why would you not want those to be smart in some way?
Yeah.
And therefore you suddenly got a market. So scalability is key. Just to loop back on the Google Cardboard, one of my first things we did when I was at YouTube was we had the Champions League final with BT Sport on YouTube.
We did it.
You as part of your work, yeah.
We did the feed came from us.
There we go. Yeah. And that was great because we were handing out these cardboards at train stations.
Yeah.
People were putting their phones in.
I remember.
And then it
was a partnership with EE.
Yeah.
So BT had the rights, but they did it with EE as a. And we produced that match.
Yeah, but it was ahead of its time.
This is Wales, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Cardiff, exactly.
Yeah, Cardiff, yeah.
And
I was there.
And that was great. And you just think about how far we've come. It wasn't even that long ago, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 years.
Jamie
Hindhaugh. It's special.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. That's full circle moment. I usually try to block that part because just like onwards and upwards, move forward kind of a thing. But there are times when you just come back and I'm like looking at the BT Tower while we are talking right now. And I was thinking to myself, like the first Premier League game that we shot in VR and what a big moment that was that we actually live streamed this in, I guess it wasn't 4K at the time. Oh, it was 4K at the time. Yeah. In 4K and with the fisheye lens and completely new workflow than what partners were used to. But yeah.
And maybe some of the message or what we're trying to get to here is the ability to be brave and to innovate and to be willing to fail, I think is so embedded in Meta's culture.
Yeah.
And I think it's something it is hard, right? Because not every company doesn't have unlimited resources and can't always afford to fail. But I think what we are saying is when you're trying to create new fan experiences, how are you being brave and trying something different?
Yeah.
Not everyone will hit, right? Like the Google Cardboard was great for its moment and maybe after that there weren't as many.
Yeah.
But I think the brands that win will be the ones that on their apps and on social are willing to take a bit more risk.
Yeah.
And so some of my message is how do we help you feel more comfortable about taking that risk? How do we make you feel more comfortable about sharing more on an Instagram or creating a WhatsApp channel or having a feed, one of your feeds be from the glasses in your production? and giving the right data, giving the right case studies so people feel okay with it. But also you hear from a lot of sports partners, they want to be the first.
Yeah.
And that's where we also have a lot of success, is saying, hey, here's the opportunity. Let us know what you can do with the glasses or whatever. So yeah.
I mean, it actually leads me to my next question, which is actually what differentiates brands in terms of how well they activate, like what makes them stick out. But just to add on to it, like we find this all the time. Brands want to be first, they want exclusivity, but they're not willing to. I don't know if it's just a payment, like they're not willing to pay for exclusivity, but it's also one of those why. Like, why do you want? The more people use this, the more this becomes an habitual thing. The better. It's all tides rise kind of a thing.
Yeah.
There is no reason why you can be the first, but you don't need to be the only one.
Yes.
And if you are the only one, actually, it's gonna hurt you rather than help you.
Yeah.
So that collaborative approach. I mean, now we're starting to see leagues and push it across all the teams, so it's not just a one by one thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned the work that you do with the Premier League and clubs and stuff. But curious to know from your perspective, what differentiates good partners in terms of how they activate, how well they use these things across all the platforms versus people that may not be doing it as well?
A few things spring to mind, and I'll go through them. Bravery, we talked about a bit. Authenticity, we spoke about a bit. Really thinking deeply about the why and not being tied to vanity metrics, or at least understanding why you're measuring the thing you're measuring.
Yeah.
So let's take them one by one. I think the bravery point is kind of what I just alluded to, of how are you willing to push the envelope a bit? How are you empowered by your leadership to take risks and do something new in a world that's so crowded and can feel homogenous? You know, take the app story we were talking about. How many times will you open a Premier League football club's app and see a kind of similar thing across all of them?
Yeah.
Or Formula One, or the Premier League, or the Champions League app. And so the ones that are winning are taking risks and putting out something different.
Yeah.
The Arsenal app launched this week, and I was playing around with it, and I thought that was really well done because it had a lot of authenticity and legacy.
Yeah.
There's clearly a lot of thought went into the marketing. It had all the retail built into it, and ticketing, which is a big thing for me because most apps send you back out towards the website, and then it feels clunky and you have to sign in again.
Yeah.
I've already signed in. So bravery, I think, is one, and it's easy for me to sit on one side of the table and say, take that risk. I know it's harder if you're working in an organization to do that, but again, we want to get you comfortable with that. Authenticity is just another big one, and a lot of what people come to us for is like, tell us what young fans are doing and seeing and believing. And so what we do is we boil the data, we understand the trends, and then we present back. Because again, going back to that consultant approach, I think people at the Premier League will come to us and say, hey, what are younger fans doing we should be ahead of? And the thing that comes up again and again and again, either in the data, on the apps, or through focus groups or talking to creators, is authenticity. And so fans are really put off now when they see stuff, young fans are put off when they see stuff that is too corporate. And so I think opening up, being a bit more playful, working with creators and athletes more is important. So I think another revolution we're going through is the importance of individuals being almost as important as institutions. So, and I don't think this is just a sport thing. If you look at the news industry, you know, journalists are followed as much as the news organization.
Yeah.
If you look at gaming, people watch Twitch streamers as much as they play the game.
Yeah.
If you look at music, the Billboard 100 hit the first point last year where all 100 were solo artists, not groups. Whereas I grew up with groups being the big thing.
Yeah, of course.
So across all you could, talk about the importance of politicians versus political parties. Like, the importance of the individual has gone up.